are. In the middle of nowhere.
We'll have to stay focused in order to get to the old tech and escape this rock.
Jack Clutch Sprocket. Any way you slice it, that's an amazing name. So let's have a look. Wow, we got a volcano. Cool. First thing we got to do is we got to get this abandoned train station rebuilt. In order to do that, we need 120 workers. So we got to start building some spaces for the workers to inhabit. Building spaces for workers is fairly easy. Just have to make sure that we have roads for them. One of the mechanics of this game is every single building that you plop down has to be connected in some way to the train station by a road. If it's not connected to the road, then it won't function. So let's throw down some worker houses here. One cool thing you can do in this game is any building that you throw down, you can just move it, even if it's been sitting there for forever. So we got some worker houses here. They also need a general store because they need to be able to buy stuff. And then we need to connect all of these to the road. Boom. So there we go. We got worker spaces. As long as their needs are fulfilled, then they will generate money and they will generate workers. So each of these buildings gives me 4 workers and 5 money every single cycle. The cycles are indicated by this ticker right here. General store, all that does is it fulfills the needs of anybody that's close to it. Let's put down some more of these guys here. Build another small neighborhood. Also, we got to grab tumbleweeds whenever you see them because those things provide little bonuses if you click on them. So let's put another group of them over here. Connect them all by roads. There we go. And now we've hit a milestone. Every time you hit a milestone, you hit milestones by just fulfilling basic objectives. In this case, we had to get more workers. So every time you hit a milestone, you get new buildings and you get new units and stuff. Every time you hit a milestone, though, usually your population starts demanding more stuff. In this case, now the workers need a general store and they need to be next to a service station. So service stations we can plop down anywhere that's near a road and it'll affect any building or any worker building that it's connected to, it's within range of. So let's put that here. Then we'll build another neighborhood around it. But we are running out of boards. We need boards to build houses. In order to get boards, we got to set up some foresters. Foresters, you have to build near trees, and they will provide logs. So let's build one right there, connect it by a road. And now that's going to start providing me logs. Now we need a place to put the logs, so we can use this game's super secret weapon, the warehouses. These things are magical places where all of your excess goods are stored, and they're like the boxes in Resident Evil. They're all connected with each other. Any resource can come from any warehouse. Any resource can be stored in any warehouse. Now, we need 4 boards to build the warehouse, though, and we might not have enough boards to build that, so I might have to demolish one of these houses just temporarily to get some boards back so that the warehouse can be built. And now it's giving us logs. Now, we can't do anything with logs, but we can turn them into boards by building a lumberyard. Can I move this warehouse over here, or is that going to affect your trees? Nope. Still got enough trees. Can I build a road over here? That's going to... Okay. You can't replace too many of the trees around a forester, otherwise its fertility goes down, which means it does less work because there's less trees. Okay, that's still got 100% fertility. All good. One thing I love doing once you get a nice big area is zooming in and just like cruising around and looking at the details of the robots just sort of stumbling around in their little ramshack houses and whatnot. Because you can zoom in and you can get quite a good look at a lot of the details on some of the buildings and whatnot. It's actually pretty charming. What I also want to do is I want to start getting my landmarks up here. Landmarks here, these are like super special buildings that you get for unlocking every single map. They don't really do much besides make your map look pretty and provide really huge bonuses. permanent bonuses. They're kind of like a cheat, an in-game cheat, really. Like, for example, this train depot makes the train come more often and have better sales when it does show up, but we'll get to that. Another milestone, which means now we can also make cactus farms. And it also means that the workers are now demanding cactus water. So we got to find places to put those. But don't want to get ahead of ourselves. The last thing you want to do in this game is overexpand and then find yourself without resources. So how's the forester's doing fine. The lumber mill's doing fine. Warehouse is there. After we get the train station built, then we got to fix up the mine shaft. And then we can start mining. And this game really takes off when you open the mine shaft because it becomes two different games. It becomes a city builder on the surface and a mining, almost like a real-time strategy mining game underneath, but not nearly as complicated as I'm making that sound. It's actually pretty chill. Also, how much does it take to get the, which one is it? The Desert Star down? Yeah, we need 10 boards for this because this is a giant Ferris wheel, but it's one of your landmark buildings. These are kind of like the wonders of the world in Civilization. They're just there to give you huge bonuses, but they don't actually... You can put them wherever. It doesn't really matter. Just as long as they're anywhere on your map, you get a huge bonus. This one in particular makes it so that roads don't cost anything. Throw it down there. And now roads don't cost anything. So I can build as many roads as I want. I think we should work on getting these people cactus water because everybody's demanding cactus water. And if I fulfill those demands, then every one of these buildings supplies more workers. And that gets us closer to our milestone. So let's find somewhere to build a cactus farm or two. Now, cactus farms are not a service, so they don't have to be in proximity of any of the buildings. They just have to be near a warehouse. So I'll put one there. Let's get another warehouse down. You're going to see me plunking down warehouses all over the map. Because like I said, these are magical warehouses. They're all connected. They just have to be close to whatever facilities they're either taking stuff in from or sending stuff out to. So it's good to have them peppered all over your map. So I have a cactus farm here, although I have to place the cactus fields around it so that it has something to farm. There we go. So now what it's doing is it's producing cactus water. One of the little robots down here will come from the warehouse, grab the cactus water, take it back to the warehouse. And once something is in the warehouse, it's in your general pool of stuff that you have. Like your stored stuff. So this is kind of your resource balance sheet. This tells you how much stuff that you have stored, how much your income and outcome levels are. Lets you keep an eye on production levels here. For the longest time, I didn't really pay much attention to this sheet until I realized that understanding how this thing works and understanding that when the numbers are in the red, you should work on trying to get them back into the green is key to making sure that you don't run into one of those, like, things in city builder games where you're just stuck there, sitting there, waiting for resources to pour in before you can do anything. So now that the train station's up and running, that means now we can do trade, which is, this is your opportunity to trade excess materials that you might accumulate for other materials that you might need. It is a way, if you're smart enough to know how to play it, to maybe get ahead on resources that you're struggling to pick up. Let's get some more of these landmark buildings out here. The train depot should probably get thrown down at somewhere here too as well. Because that makes the train come more often, and it makes the trades sometimes go on sale. Every single building, service building in this, has slots where you can put items in to give them buffs. Having this big roller coaster somewhere on your map means that every building gets an additional slot, which is very handy. The hardest thing for me as an old school SimCity player to unlearn as I was playing this game, going nuts with roads is completely okay in this game. Especially once you get the Ferris wheel and roads don't cost anything, you can go nuts with roads, and you should, because the more roads you have, the more avenues that the warehouse workers have to deliver their goods. Plus, roads also extend the reach of service buildings like, you know, the service shop or the general store. Eventually, these worker buildings will get upgraded to higher tiered citizens, and they'll require different service buildings. So you have to swap out stuff like the general store and the service station for different service buildings. Everything else, all these other buildings, these are production buildings. The only real requirement for production buildings, I find, is that they need to be near a warehouse, And if you've got a lot of them clumped together, you probably need more than one warehouse, because warehouses can get congested. Roads can't, but warehouses can definitely get backed up. So if you don't have enough warehouses to cover all the production buildings that are nearby it, then you need to build more warehouses. Luckily, warehouses don't really cost much, so you can just go nuts with them as well. Okay, so now we've got enough workers that we can start upgrading buildings to engineers. So how this works is this is a citizen tier upgrade system, where I can turn any of these worker residential areas into engineer residentials as long as all of their needs are being met. Right now, because we're at milestone 4, now they want charcoal. So charcoal is something that we have to build a new building for, which is the charcoal kin. This is a production building, so again, it just needs to go on a road near a warehouse. So I'll just put it down here. And since the charcoal kin and the lumber yard are both pulling from one forester, I probably need to build a second one because this guy's probably not spitting out enough logs to fill both of these guys. But building a second forester in a forest this small might be tricky. So let's see if I can pull this off. We can abuse the system here and just drag a road all the way out to this forest. Throw a forester over here where there's plenty of trees. This forester, though, is well out of range of any warehouse, so we got to throw a warehouse across the street from it. Because remember, all the warehouses across the entire map are connected. Uh-oh. Now all my citizens are upset because charcoal is being produced, but not enough to satisfy all their needs. That's because this guy has got low production because I'm not producing enough logs. That's why I had to build this second logger. Once this thing starts kicking in, that should clear up. Then the charcoal king can produce at a steady rate, and everybody gets their charcoal, and now all the workers are happy again. And when workers are completely happy, then you can upgrade them into engineers. Which gets us to another milestone. And now engineers unlock a whole bunch of new buildings, but they also have new requirements. See, these ones need... They're engineers, so they need booze. So we need to make moonshine, and we need to make saloons. There we go. We got a whole neighborhood of engineers there. That gets us how many? 19? That's enough to repair the mine shaft. There we go. Mine shaft is repaired. Now we can always go. Now we can go down into the mines.
All right, we made it.
Things are different down in the mines because you still have to build stuff or whatever, but it's a little different. First thing, though, I'm just going to throw a pillar here to prevent a collapse. So how the mines work is, what you do is you build quarters down here for the 4 different kinds of workers that you're going to have down in your mines. You have diggers, prospectors, guards, and engineers. Right now, all we need is diggers, because there's a lot of digging to be done. So let's get... Basically, I'm going to build some quarters here. This is where the space where the diggers have all their stuff. The bigger of a space you make for the diggers, the more diggers you can have. And diggers, how the workers work down here is the workers do everything automatically. You just basically issue commands and they do all the work for you. So when a digger is idle, what they'll do is they'll automatically search and find any rubble and clear that. And then they'll find any wall that isn't reinforced and try and reinforce it. Reinforced walls prevent cave-ins. So as they're digging, you just sort of want to keep an eye on your diggers as they're digging because you never know when they might open up into an area where something might pop out and surprise you. Also, the more walls they clear away, the more empty space they're creating, and an empty space can cause cave-ins if you don't reinforce it with pillars. So it's best not to go hog wild with digging and just dig very, very slowly. So while they're doing that, I can also jump up here and do some stuff in the city. You can flip back and forth between the mines and the city, and you can do stuff up here in the city while stuff is still going on down in the mines, and vice versa. So if you ever get into a point here where maybe you've built a bunch of stuff in the city, and now you're like, okay, now I have to wait for some resources to regenerate, you can jump back down in the mines and do some exploration or stuff. So you're never really left with nothing to do. And I kind of dig that. Plus, once you get into the nitty-gritties of how the mines work, it becomes much more of like an exploration game than it does like a strategy game. I see more gold and tools up here. This is sandstone, which we can't mine through yet because we need pickaxes for sandstone. There's more gold up there. All right, we'll get to that in a sec. We have to start working on stuff for the engineers here because they need saloons and they need moonshine. Because they're engineers. Saloons are easy enough. Saloons you just plunk down, and these are service buildings, so they can go in the service alley here. So I can just throw the saloon down, and that just gives them what they need. But to make moonshine, we're gonna have to get into some complicated things here because to make moonshine, you need cactus farms for water, you need sand facilities, and then you need glass blowers. So the trickiest one is the sand facility because you have to place it somewhere where there's good sand. And kind of like the logging ones, you have to put it somewhere away from all the buildings and roads because the buildings and roads will lower the fertility of the sand because they won't have as much fertile sand to harvest from. So I want to find a place somewhere nearby here, maybe, that I can throw this guy down. I have to connect him by a road. And his fertility stays at 100%, and he can deliver his sand to that warehouse. That's good. So now we've got sand coming in, which is good, but we need something to do with it. So we're going to put that in a glass blower. The glass blower is just a production building that I can put anywhere. So anywhere I put production building. So it just has to be close to a warehouse. So I can just throw it right here. Now this warehouse is servicing all 4 of these buildings, so it's getting overwhelmed. So let's throw a second warehouse down to help that out. So that should supply us with glass. Now, the cactus farms will supply us with cactus juice. And as a result, we can make moonshiners. This will make moonshine. And this is just another production building, so we'll just put it on production road here. You can kind of think of this, if you're an old school SimCity player, think of this out here as like an industrial zone, where these are all residential zones. And this alley up here is like the commercial zones. Not exactly a one-to-one analog, but you can kind of think of it that way if it helps you parse out what the hell I'm doing here. So the engineers are getting everything that they want right now. So they're good, because they've got their saloon, they've got moonshine coming from the moonshiner, so they're good. And the factory workers, they're getting everything they want, so all my citizens are happy. I just need more engineers, so we need to upgrade some of the workers to be more engineers. That should get us up to the next milestone, which unlocks a bunch of new stuff, including new roads. So now we can change these dirt roads into paved roads, which you want to do immediately as soon as you get access to them, because paved roads make everybody that travel on them run faster, which is really good for your warehouse delivery guys. It means that they make their deliveries faster, which means your industry moves faster. Plus, paved roads also extend the reach of service buildings. Since we hit a new milestone now, though, the engineers are asking for a surveyor office, which is just another service building, so we can just throw that down in Service Alley here. And that'll supply what they need. We also have access to a tool maker, which is another production facility. This thing takes scrap, which we find down in the mines, and turns it into tools. And tools are a resource we're going to need to start making more complicated things. So, let's put that along the industry road here. And I think that's about... We're kind of tapped out on resources, so let's jump back down to the mines and do some more mining. This is what we need here, a scrap vein. So this is basically an endless supply of scrap. However, only prospectors can harvest it. So we need to get prospectors down here now. Now, how many miners do we have? We have 4. I want 6. So let's build enough space here for 6. So that's all the quarter space I need for miners. So now let's dig a little bit more space out here. And then we can start building some quarter space for prospectors. There's also treasure chests that you can find. That gave me an item that might upgrade my miners. So if I go to my miners here and I equipped it, 200% reinforced speed and 33% movement speed for every miner. So that's all I have to do for miners right now. I've got 6 of them. That's fine. So let's get prospectors in here now. They need their own different quarters. And prospectors we can send to, well, prospect these scrap veins. And all they do is basically they run to the scrap vein, they chisel some scrap out, they deliver it to the mine shaft, and then it goes up into my pool, and then it becomes accessible from every warehouse in the city. You'll notice a suspicious red wire running through here. That's not nothing. That is something, but we'll get to that. So we need engineers. Let's get them a quarter. We only really need one engineer, honestly, on this first floor. Because all engineers do at this point in the game is they build machines. However, to build machines, they also need a workshop. So let's build a workshop, and the bigger your workshop is, the more machines you can build. So I have a workshop here that is this size. It allows me to create one machine. So I'm going to create a scrap extractor and put it on this pile of scrap here, which means that my prospectors don't have to mine it anymore. The scrap extractor will just do it automatically for them. They just have to run up, collect the boxes, and take it to the mine shaft. It does seem when you first start playing this game that every time you hit a milestone, it's just throwing more and more and more and more stuff at you, and you can maybe get a little overwhelmed by it all. That certainly happened to me the first time I started playing this game. I was like, okay, now what do I need this building for? Now what does this do? And that stuff. But once you've played a couple of maps, when you have the tutorials turned on, I don't have the tutorials turned on right now. If you have the tutorials turned on, the game will hold your hand every step of the way through what each and every building does and where to put it and how it benefits you and how you can optimize it. It's actually one of the best straightforward tutorials I've ever seen in a game like this. Like, it really does slowly walk you through what every single thing in this game does. So the scrap extractor I got to throw down, but I need more boards. There we go. So now this thing is, well, the engineer has to, or the engineer has to come over and build it. And once it's built, this thing will just pump out boxes of scrap that the prospectors don't have to come over and mine themselves. They just have to come over and collect. Later down in the further parts of the mines, engineers also double as your healers for your guards. When the nasties show up and they start messing up your guards, the engineers can heal them and revive them. So it's good to have a whole team of engineers backing up your guards, but we don't have to worry about them on this floor for now. All the workers are doing their jobs automatically with no input from me. That's why I said that this mining part here is really sort of chill, because if you're like not really good at like multitasking in games like this, you really don't have to worry too much about stuff, because a lot of the workers in this will do their jobs to the best of their abilities automatically. Like the diggers, if you haven't selected a piece of dirt for them to dig and they're just sitting around idle, then they will take that opportunity to clear any rubble they can find, reinforce any walls they can find. Same with your engineers. They will automatically fix up any machines that break without any instructions from you at all. So it's very easy to just jump back up here and leave your miners down doing their thing. And if there's something that they should be looking after, they'll do it automatically, with the exception of like direct instructions to like dig holes or whatever. But that's kind of a blessing too, because it allows you to kind of advance through the mines at your own pace. Like the diggers will never like bust into a room and unleash something without specific instructions from you first. I'm digging away at like all of the walls here and leaving big wide open spaces like this. Not always the best option, because I have to spend my wood resources to reinforce it all with pillars. If you just leave the walls where they are, the diggers will reinforce those walls and they will hold up the cave-ins for you. That looks like iron. That is an iron vein. Much like the scrap vein over here, we can build an iron extractor from it eventually. We can't right now. We don't have the tech for it. There's also water veins down here that we'll have to tap into, so we should probably work towards those. Another thing the workers do, not that this is something that can happen, but they also, as just sort of a fun touch, they install guardrails along these cliff edges here, because they're OSHA compliant. There is no mechanic in this game where your workers can like slip and fall off. That's not a thing. This is just part of the charm of this game. What are we doing up here? We still need a spare parts factory. So, and also a sheet metal factory. Yeah, that's going to come in handy. All right, these are all just production factories. So all we need to do with them is put them on a road near a warehouse. And if there's not enough warehouses or enough roads, we just build more of them. So let's get the sheet metal factory, which turns iron into sheet metal. Or sorry, ironium into sheet metal. I like that this game has its cheeky cheeky little names for resources. And the thing is, this one's not producing anything because we're not mining any ironium yet. Because we don't have the tools to do that because we haven't hit the milestone for it yet. So let's get the milestone up by building more engineers. Now, I've created a problem for myself here. I've made too many engineers, and now I have a deficit in my workforce. I have more engineers now, yeah, but I don't have workers, and workers are needed to run some of these low-level plants, like the cactus farms and the coal and the charcoal factories. So, we need more workers. So let's build more worker places. With the lumber that I don't have. There it is. Low production because it's not getting enough logs. Which means I probably need to build another logger somewhere. There's a nice bunch of trees up here. That'd be good for loggers. Let's do another logging facility up here. Got to keep up with the basics. You can't just leave your basic production facilities in the dust as you expand. That's another logger. Let's put another warehouse with it. These workers, they're in range of all the services that they need, so they're all going to be happy. So that boosts my numbers back up here for workers. So we should be good. And we hit another milestone there, which means we should have... Oh, we have water extractors now. No, that's not what I was hoping for. I was hoping for ironium extractors, but I guess that's the next milestone. So, in the meantime, we just keep on digging. Still plenty of this mine left to explore. Although we did get bridges. So now we have access to bridges, which means now we can start crossing some of these gaps. Ah, and here's where that red wire finally leads to. It leads to a switch. So if you flick the switch, red wire becomes activated. We will find out what that does later. We have a surplus of tools. Let's look at our graph here. Yeah. So tools are... We have a maximum storage of tools, and we're still getting a surplus of tools coming in. So what we can do here is we can set up a trade where we trade away tools for sheet metal. 2-to-1 ratio, so we're obviously losing out. But every time the train comes through town, we lose 10 tools, we gain 5 sheet metal. And, ooh, a free workforce reduction bonus. I'll take that. Lowers workforce by 50%. That's not a great explanation, but what that does is you can find any all of these production facilities and service buildings, they require a number of your workers to work with. That bonus basically allows you to get the same production out of the facility for half the workforce. So if I wanted to free up 5 engineers here, I could jump in here, throw that on. And now this facility is operating at full function with only 5 engineers instead of 10. Which frees up more engineers for me to put in other buildings should I make more engineer buildings, which we're going to have to start putting down some other buildings here, like a water purifier. Actually, we should throw that down somewhere soon, because we're going to start mining water soon. So let's throw that down here on Industry Road. And since I keep pumping more and more industry on this road, I got to keep up with the warehouses. So let's build some bridges here. And let's mine the hell out of this area down here. I don't think there's any progress down here. There's just resources. So what I can do here is I can mine this area out, and then once all the workers are clear of this area, I can recycle the bridges and get the materials back. So there's nothing else down here. This is all bedrock. You can never, ever, ever get through bedrock. Bedrock is the hard wall of the mines. So they're clear of this area. We don't need this bridge anymore, so let's recycle it. And use the materials to build a bridge somewhere else. Somewhere down, like down here where this blue wire is going, for example. Grab those, click that switch. I unlocked something. The red and blue wires unlocked something. Treasure chest gives me another hat for the prospectors. Periodically gives you tools. We already have that one on these guys, so we can not bother with that. Wait for these guys to get clear and recycle this bridge. Treasure chest. Oh, here we go. That led to a big open area with some buried stuff in it. Now let's just reinforce this room here. That's a big treasure chest. I definitely want that. That is blueprints for something new. Speed vents. These things are cool. I like these things. They're little, basically, they're little dash pads that you can throw down, and every time a worker runs over them, they get a big boost of speed. Really helps your efficiency. I like putting them on bridges, because that way you know that the workers are going to run over them. You need an engineer to build them. They take up space in your workshop, but they're very much worth it for efficiency. This over here, this is a piece of the rocket that you're inevitably going to be building at the end of this game in order to finish the whole map. You need to find 6 of these, 6 pieces of this rocket. 2 of them are buried on every floor in the mines. So we've got a long ways to go. Now, let's build a bridge here over to this dirty water main, and we can build on that a dirty water extractor. Again, the engineers need to come over here and build it, and then the prospectors need to collect the water once it's been extracted to take it back upstairs. Oh, hey, there's even more stuff over here. This is why I like exploring. Oh, here we go. There's another door here, and it's locked by green and yellow wires. So we got to find those wires and find the switches at the end of them. But the diggers could be moving faster if I had more diggers, but since you're only allowed a maximum of 50 of any workers on any floor in the mines, you have to also balance out which workers that you go with. And I find that on this first floor here, you only ever maximum need 6 diggers and 1 engineer. You don't need guards, and the rest can be prospectors. This is how I like rolling. There's the yellow switch. Ba-boom. Okay, that's one half of the door open. I think I like the mining part of this game more than I like the city part, building part. Actually, I think I like the synergy of both. I like being able to flip back and forth. It kind of reminds me of the same sort of thing that you see in games like the Persona games, where you're going back and forth between like the dating sim stuff and like the RPG stuff. That's the other switch there. That opens the door to get us to whatever's through here. Aha! Another piece of the rocket. And I believe that is the mine shaft that leads down to the next level. Now, to get this thing fixed, we need Aristobots, which are the next tier up above engineers. So in order, if we want to continue going further down in the mines, we have to go back up and build up our city more. That's kind of the great push and pull of this game, I find, is that it gates you in ways that make sense so that you're not plowing through one part of the game without taking care of another part. I don't think there's much else in this floor to do besides dig up the other part of the rocket, and then we have to work on getting Aristobots, which means we got to go back up to the city, and we got to start thinking about upgrading some of our engineers to Aristobots. But you can't upgrade engineers unless they're satisfied, and these guys are not satisfied because they need things. So we got to do some more city building stuff. First thing we need is a water purifying factory. So water purifier, this is just a production facility, so it just needs to be near a warehouse. And that will take all of the excess dirty water that we're pumping up from the mines, which we are full up on right now, and it'll turn it into purified water, which the townsfolk can use. Now all the engineers have water. Next thing they need is spare parts. Same thing, we just need to build a spare parts factory. This takes scrap and iron and turns it into spare parts. Cool. I got this nice long stretch of industry road here. It's pretty cool. Uh-oh, everybody's mad. Why is everybody mad? Oh, because there's not enough water. I need a second plant. The demand is too high. Okay, that's fair enough. So let's just build another one then. We should also think about expanding the, for lack of a better word, residential area across these railroad tracks here. Because what I want to do now is I want to build a new worker neighborhood. Because eventually, these engineers are going to turn into Aristobots. These workers here will probably turn into engineers. But you never want to shortchange any of your workforce. They're going to have their own general store because general stores are needed. And they're going to have their own service station. Just because the ones over here are probably going to be out of range. There we go. Road those up. Those will get built whenever the resources are available, and then we'll have more workers. But we still have to start satisfying the engineers here. Now what they need is they need a wash service shop, which I believe is a service station that they need to be nearby. Yeah, residential benefits. Yep, so this needs to go along service road here. So once it gets built, everybody will have somewhere to wash themselves. And then we got to make a burger joint. This one is complicated. Because in order to make burgers, first we need cattle farms. And yes, this is all still robot stuff, but they actually do need, like, robo-cattle farms. So kind of like the cactus farms, we got to find a nice open space to build some robot cattle farms. Now, the burger joint is believe it or not, it's a production facility, so it doesn't need to be near any of the residents. We can put it right here on Industry Road. So let's just put it right across the street from the cattle farm. Why not? So there's our cattle farm. So let's actually build the fields like we did with the cactus farms. And you can zoom in, you can actually see the robo-cattle out there on the range. It's kind of cute. There's the diner right next door. That's actually pretty efficient because the delivery guy goes straight from the cattle farm right into the diner without even having to go to a warehouse. So that's actually not a bad way. There's things like that that you can do if you want to really, really fine-tune your city to be very efficient. You can pull off stuff like that. Eventually, these burgers will fill up this meter, and then all of our engineers will be fully satisfied, and we can upgrade one of them to an Aristobot. Then we can get things going. There we go. So, Aristobots, yeah, they require, like, a waxing shop as one of their services, but the Aristobots bring in some high-end industry. For example, they bring in polymerization plants, which allows you to make plastics. Plastics are very, very valuable in the late game. Thing is, you have to mine plasty shrooms in order to get them, and we haven't found plasty shrooms yet, so we're getting ahead of ourselves, but I'm just saying. And now we can finally fix this broken mine shaft. That takes us down to the second level of the mines. Welcome to the Marshy Ruins, everyone. First things first, let's throw down some of these so that we don't get some cave-ins here. And the only thing that we can do right now is get some diggers down here. Units in the mines don't transfer from floor to floor, so we're basically starting on a brand new floor from scratch. So let's get some diggers down here. And they're going to spend the first little while here clearing all the rubble and reinforcing all the walls. While they're doing that, we can jump back up here and do some city stuff. So the first thing that they want is a waxing shop. That's fairly easy to do because a waxing shop is just a service building. So you just have to build it near where the Aristobots are going to live. And I plan on upgrading these areas here, all these engineers, into Aristobots. So as long as I have my service row here, they should be okay. So that building will be built as soon as I have the boards for it. We will give the boards a chance to recharge in that building to come online. So let's get down into the second level of the mines here and start setting up. So we need some more space for more diggers. We don't need a lot of diggers. We need a few more than we did on the previous floor. This one, I believe 8 is about the number we need. So let's make enough space to get 8 diggers, and then we will start looking around down here. Now on this floor, we're going to also need prospectors and engineers and workshops and tools and machines like we did on the floor upper. But we're also going to start having to get guards down here because there are things lurking down here that we're going to need guards for. But we will get to that in a moment. For now, though, just letting these diggers clear out some space here so that we can get some more of them down here. We've also got something new over here. This is fertile soil. Fertile soil, you can't build any quarters on. You have to use that for something else. That is used for farms. Believe it or not, you do farm stuff in this game. But what we're specifically farming down here is plasti shrooms. Because in this robot world, they farm plastic out of plants. I wish it was that easy in real life, but that's how it is. Also on this floor, we start running into granite. And granite is not something that we can mine through yet. Because much like moving from our little small shovels up to pickaxes, we eventually have to graduate our pickaxes up into drills so that we can get through granite. But baby steps. No flamethrowers yet. The miners don't get flamethrowers. The guards do. But not yet. We don't even have guards yet. We don't even have prospectors yet. All I'm doing right now is I'm just clearing space, making room for the quarters. That looks like a hat for engineers. Sheet metal scavenging. Okay, let's deal with this cave-in, potential cave-in first. Can I put that on my engineers up here? My one engineer. Yeah, I'm not putting it on him. I'm going to save that for the engineers that I'm eventually going to build down here. Ooh, oil. Another new resource that we're going to have to deal with. There's scrap. I don't really go for scrap veins on this floor because we get more than enough scrap from the floor above. So it's a waste of machinery, it's a waste of prospectors to go after scrap on this floor. Over here, I think, is where we're going to start building the guards' quarters. Oh, we can't yet because we're not at the right milestone for guards yet. Okay. Well, that's okay. Like I was saying earlier, this game does a good job at letting you tackle the challenges of the mines at your own speed. I'm pretty sure that your first encounter with anything that you would need guards for is also an encounter that you need the guards to get to. Like, there's a gating mechanism that you need to have guards in place before you can even get to the threatening parts. So, again, another way that this game kind of lets you, or stops you from getting ahead of yourself. So what we really need to be doing is we need to build a farm down here. So this is how you build plastishroom farms. You just find fertile soil and you just plant the shrooms there. Now that's a plastishroom farm. So now we need prospectors in order to farm it. And we're going to put them, I guess, over here for now. And you can't build any machines to farm this. The plastishrooms are just farmed by the prospectors manually. There's no other way around that. They literally just run up to the plastishrooms and wail on them with pickaxes in order to harvest them. This right up here, this is a guard door. Only guards can bust through that. But beyond that, that's where the nasties are. So like I said, the game stops you from getting into a space where you might need guards before you have them. Have we got anything that we can pump into our miners here? Reinforcement speed, debris clearing speed. We don't need recruitment right now because we've got more than enough. Actually, that recruitment bonus might allow me to do something tricky here. Because this recruitment bonus gives me +3 diggers. So if I recycle some of this space and bring myself down to 5 diggers... Oh, that's 4. One too few. There, 5. Then we throw that bonus on them. That bumps us back up to 8 without, and frees up some real estate. Clever. I'm actually quite proud of myself for figuring that out. There we go. New milestone, which means now the Aristobots want a whole bunch of other shit too. They want a sheriff's office, they want diesel, and they want a hat maker because they're hoity-toities. Also, we're in a problem now, too. We have a shortage of engineers because I've turned all my engineers into Aristobots. So we got to turn some of the workers into engineers. And they're still close enough to all their service stations here so that they're getting what they want. This is why I started a new neighborhood of workers over here, because I knew eventually these workers were going to graduate up into engineers, and these engineers were going to graduate up into Aristobots. And if you can believe it, there's one more tier of citizen above Aristobots that we have yet to run into. But now we're facing a problem. We have a charcoal shortage. Yeah, we're definitely low on charcoal. Okay, where are the charcoal plants? What do they have to say for themselves? Okay, this charcoal kin is getting enough lumber, but it's the only charcoal kin. That's the bottleneck. So we just need another one. So let's just build another one and put it next to it. That little angry symbol will show up on any house that has a need fulfilled and then that need is suddenly unfulfilled. That's when they get pissed. They don't get pissed when they first show up there and their needs aren't being fulfilled immediately, but they do get pissed when they have their needs fulfilled and then it gets taken away from them. So as long as they're unsatisfied, I won't be able to graduate any of these engineers up into Aristobots, which is going to slow me down. But I did just hit that milestone, which means we can go back down here and we can at last... We can build oil extractors and we can at last build guards. So let's start getting a guard... area built here so that we can get them in here. They're in this red area here. The combat in this game is very hands-off. Like, the guards will take... As soon as you come across anything that's hostile, the guards will just sprint towards it immediately and deal with it. You don't have to micromanage anything in this game. There's no real-time strategy management of your military units in this game at all, which is what I think makes it so lax. Also, we've got guards now. We can start putting hats on them. So we can put a recruitment 3 hat on them. Gets me 3 more guards. I don't know if the recruitment ones stack. I don't think they do. Oh, they do too. How about that? So that's 12 guards there. So we've got a nice security detail. Now with guards, you also get another new space that you can build, which is the armory. Now, the armory doesn't have anything to do with the guards. The armory allows you to build specific kinds of turrets. There are 4 different kinds of turrets. Right now, all we have access to are the grenade turrets, which are basically just point-and-shoot turrets, and thumpers, which are big, giant area of effect slowdown turrets. They do a little bit of damage to everything that's around them every time they thump, and they slow anything down around them. Turrets also deal with worms. We haven't run into worms yet, but we will. And we're going to need thumpers if we're going to deal with worms. The prospectors, you guys can start building over in this direction, although I don't have the resources to hire a whole lot of you because I'm out of gold. The only way you can find gold is to search for it, so now it's time to kick a door down and see what's behind it. So bring on the guards. Now moving forward, every time we come across one of these enemy soil blocks, they will spawn bugs. But again, there's nothing that I need to do here. The guards will take care of everything automatically. Like, anytime there's any hostiles on the board, the guards will just rush it and take care of it. If the guards get knocked down and killed, if there's engineers on the board, the engineers will rush over and bring them back to life. So it's very, very hands-off combat. If real-time strategy is not really your thing, you can think of the combat in this game as more as just something you have to keep an eye on and be more sort of like a general of, as opposed to like a sergeant where you're giving direct orders. The diggers will run away from monsters if there's no guards around to assure them that the problem will be solved. The monsters will also tear up your shit too. They will come and destroy your machines. They will bust up your pillars, which can cause more cave-ins. So you definitely want to have guards around. Ooh, more hats for the guards. What does this get them? Flamethrowers and revolvers. So revolvers ups their damage. Flamethrowers in this game, the context for them is they let you burn away what's called creep. If you played StarCraft, you should probably know kind of what creep is, but creep is also something that the guards have to deal with. And they will do it automatically whenever you encounter creep. So again, nothing that you really have to decide to do. Whoa, just popped a whole bunch of the map open here, and we've got islands we've got to deal with, so we're going to be doing some bridges later. There's creep right there. So creep is basically just spaces that you can't build anything on, and it will spread if you don't deal with it. But the guards will come and torch it immediately as soon as they catch wind of it, so you just have to make sure that you have guards and that they have flamethrowers, and you can deal with creep no problem. Also, the guards have to get there, too, which is probably why I should be doing this. Let's throw down a speed booster on this little doorway here. That way, every one of my bots that crosses that gets a speed boost. Shit, there's a worm. And he just ate one of my miners. Son of a bitch. Alright, we gotta get a thumper built nearby. But I don't have an armory yet, so that's a problem. So let's find somewhere to build a small armory. The armory functions like the workshop. The more of it you have, the more turrets you can throw down. Let's throw a thumper down nearby. Luckily, the worms, they don't eat your characters very quickly. So you might lose 1 or 2 workers to a worm. And eventually the workers get replaced from up top after a certain amount of time. So again, just sort of a speed bump more than an actual hazard. And now that that thumper is there, the worm goes underground and you never see him again. Unless another enemy comes along and breaks the thumper. And you see there, the bugs, they broke the thumper, which meant the worm could come out and eat one of my guys. But as soon as the thumper got broke, the engineers rushed in to come and fix it. Oh, all automatic. Providing that you've given the resources needed, your soldiers and workers will all do what they're supposed to do. That's another milestone. That gets me to what I want. The carbonizing plant. This is where we get drills. So I definitely want to get that, but it needs oil, and oil needs to be refined in a refinery. So we got a few hoops to jump through first before we get that. 80% off. Oh, wow. It's 80% off and it still costs 20 rupees? Forget that. Oh, and I am in a serious engineer deficit too, so we got to build up some of these workers into engineers. There we go. So now, in this area down here, this is all engineers, and this is all Arista bots. I'm at a worker disadvantage here right now, and we'll get to that. But what this means now, though, is that these service buildings in here that are only for workers don't need to be down in this neighborhood anymore. So that would be like this, well, the general store, I think, is still needed. Because I think engineers still use the general store, yeah. But they don't use this service station, for example. That's only for workers. So we can get that out of this neighborhood and move it up here. Or we could just recycle it entirely. There we go. And that opens up a space for us to put something else, like the sheriff's office that they need. So let's move that out of Service Row there and just put it right here. Because it fits, so it sits. Cool. So now we can get that sheriff's office up and running as soon as we get the resources. But I've made a problem for myself here because I promoted all those guys, all these workers into engineers, but now I need more workers. So let's build some more workers. Or rather, build some place for more workers. Constantly doing this push and pull. Ooh, can I not build roads underneath these towers? No, I can't because they're decorations. Fine. Move these guys over here then. Road these guys up. Boom. They are getting all of their needs, so they're fine because the general store and the service station is right there. The sheriff's office has finally been built. Can we throw anything there? Citizen bonus. There we go. That was great because the sheriff's office is right in the middle of everything, so that citizen bonus hits every single Aristobot house, which bumps up their numbers. So now I have nearly 300 Aristobots, which hits me up past another milestone. Which means now we've got the last tier of citizens, which are the scientists. But we are a ways away from getting them on board because we got to deal with other stuff first. But that milestone also gets us to everything else that the Aristobots need. I still want to put down a carbonizing plant. somewhere. But before we can do that, we need oil refineries. They are just industry buildings. They can go anywhere along Industry Road here. And as long as they have crude oil coming up from down below, which we are now pumping up because we built some of those oil wells, those should start turning crude oil into refined oil. This warehouse is overwhelmed, so let's put another one next to it to lighten the load. Once we start getting a good supply of refined oil, then we can start building diesel plants. And diesel plants are what the Aristobots want. The gate looks like it's leading to Jurassic Park. That's the map. The map that we're on right now, there's 5 different maps in this game, and they all have different themes. This is like the Jurassic Park-ish type themed map that we're on. There's one that's kind of like one of those desert drive-in movie theaters, and you know those old like movie lots down in like the outskirts of Southern California, where they would shoot like westerns and everything, and there'd be like these old dusty little villages that they build up. There's one I think that has like a busted amusement park on it, where you can see like roller coasters going through the canyon walls and everything. It looks pretty cool. The mines always look the same no matter what map you pick, but the top part here, the space is different and the set dressing is different. This is like the dinosaur park one that we're on right now. So now we've got a diesel plant. It's right next to a warehouse, so it should be getting oil and plastishrooms. Oh god, we can start building steam plants too. Ugh, steam furnaces. I got out of control with those things on one of the maps I did, and I made myself in a very bad position, so I got to be careful with those things. Steam furnaces, you place them near production facilities, and they make the production facilities go a lot more efficient, run a lot faster. But steam furnaces take up a lot of charcoal and a lot of your water, because steam. So you have to be careful to manage that if you're going to go hog wild with those things. And this game is not exactly picky about things like traffic congestion or pollution or crime or any of those things, so you don't have to worry about any of that. It's a very chill city builder. I've been saying that all night, but it bears repeating that, you know, I'm just throwing stuff down willy-nilly here. And again, you can always just move a building somewhere if you don't like where it is or you want to reposition or whatever. So if your bag is making a great big grand looking city that looks very pretty, because you can also, I haven't even touched these things, but you can also throw down decorations. There's like a whole menu dedicated to decorations, and there's like a lot of decorations that you can throw down. So if you want to decorate and make your city look pretty, you can go nuts with that as well. I haven't been bothering with that right now because that's kind of something that I'm not really concerned with. I prefer to build the city and work the mines. Speaking of working the mines, we haven't been down here for a while, so let's do some more digging over here. Treasure chests. That one has blueprints. What's it get me? Conveyor belts. I've never been able to make these things work efficiently. You connect a conveyor belt to like something like an oil rig here, or a water extractor, or a scrap extractor. If you connect it to your mine shaft with a conveyor belt, then you don't need a prospector. The stuff will just go straight from one source to the other. The problem I have with them is that conveyor belts, you can't build zones like this across conveyor belts. So they really, and since they all have to connect to your mine shaft, they really like restrict the space that you can put your zones in. So I never bother with them. I just rely more heavily on just building more and more prospectors. And what do the Aristobots want? Okay, they want Robo Cuisine. So that's okay. All we need for that is just the restaurants themselves, and I don't think that these are just industries, so they can go wherever as long as they're near a warehouse. They're fine. Yeah. So the fine dining restaurant, which actually I never quite looked at it. It's called the Le Gourmand, and it's a giant like steam pot. That's cool. I dig that. I like the design of some of the buildings in this game. Anyway, that's going to provide fine dining for the Aristobots. Eventually, I think. Does it have... It's got low beef production. We might need a second cattle farm. Because this one is feeding both the burger joint and the fine dining restaurant. So, let's build another cattle farm. Build that there. Put its fields behind it. And I guess right there. That's fine. So yeah, the robots around here, they eat robo beef. Just in case anybody was curious how that works. Logs are starting to get low. We need more foresters. Where could I put another forester? A lot of the big forests have already been kind of used. I suppose I could start building a road out into this like wilderness area here and put one way out here. This could also be a good spot to build another industry road. So let's send a road right on through this Jurassic Park looking gate here. Out here. And out here we can throw down another forester. Which has 100% fertility. It needs to be near a warehouse, so let's throw a warehouse there. And now we've got ourselves a new road here that we can start building industry across, so we can put factories and anything else we might need. Speaking of which, the hat maker requires sand, which we have lots of, and it also requires, this is ridiculous, glass wool spinners. So that's just a factory, so we can just throw that down. And yeah, it makes glass wool, I guess, which is what they make their hats out of. And then the hat maker is also just industry. It's not a service. So it can just go right next door. The last thing they need is guns. Guns are complicated. Because to make guns, we need a sulfur distillery, which I believe is just industry, so we can just go anywhere along the industry road here. As long as it's near a warehouse, it's fine. That takes in natural gas and turns it into sulfur somehow. So that's simple enough, but what else do we need? And then we also need a black powder maker, which takes in charcoal and sulfur and makes black powder. So that can go there. We need a second warehouse. It's starting to get a little crowded over here. And then finally, once we have sulfur and black powder, then we can make the gunsmith, which takes in black powder and scrap and turns it into guns. So there we go. There's a whole big industry park here for making guns for the Aristobots. I like the subtle storytelling this game does through the needs of each class. Like the workers, who are the lowest class, all they need is like a service station so they can get fixed up and a general store where they can just buy like canned goods or whatever. Then you have the engineers. What do they need? Saloons and moonshine and burgers and like a washing station for themselves. And then you go another tier up, and then you get to the Aristobots. And what do they need? They need hats and guns and waxing stations and more moonshine and a sheriff and a casino, you know, because they're like the cowboys or whatever. And then the final tier is the scientists, and you don't want to even know what those wacky guys need. We now have what we need to get our first scientist on the board. So let's throw one of them down. That gets us past another milestone. It also gets us our new roads. Oh boy. All right, we gotta upgrade these roads here. Luckily, upgrading roads is free. It just takes forever. But these are maglev roads, which makes our robots go zoomies on them. Really, really ups productivity because all your deliveries get done way faster. I wish there was like, just like a button you could press that just says upgrade all roads. Because when you have the Ferris wheel, roads don't cost anything, so all you have to do is just spend the time repainting them like this. Which is a little bit of an inconvenience, but I suppose if they just gave it to you for free, there would be maybe a little too easy. Holy crap. Oh, here we go. This is a piece of the rocket ship here that we have to unearth, but unlike the previous floor, on this floor, when you start unearthing rocket ship pieces, it stirs up the hive. So what you have to do on floors like this is you have to defend your diggers while they dig up the rockets. And you have to defend them from an onslaught of enemies that are going to attack. That's why you need guards and you need turrets. So that's what we're going to do here as kind of like our way to wrap the night up. We're going to see if we can get this thing out of the ground, but we're going to have to do it while defending ourselves from this hive over here. That's going to get mighty active once we start digging that thing up. So let's clear some space here and get some defenses in place. How big of an armory do we have? Pretty decent one. We're only using 4 out of 11, so let's throw down a flame turret there and a flame turret there. Flame turrets are great because they draw the enemies towards them and then they just spray fire in their face. So flame turrets there. We've got the thumper that we're going to move up a little bit here. 2 flame turrets, a thumper, and then we're going to throw down some grenade turrets as well. These things are basically just point and shoot turrets. So now we've got flame turrets, the thumper, and 2 grenade turrets once those get built up. Then what we're going to do is we're going to have the digger. We're going to signal the diggers to start digging this up, and that's going to stir up the hive. Once the enemies start popping up, the guards are also going to race over here, and they're going to join the fight too. So we should be okay. Actually, one thing I should do to prepare is build more engineers or some more mechanics, because mechanics are your healers in a fight like this. So the more of them you have, the faster they can fix broken turrets and downed guards. So now that we have more of them on board, let's rock and roll. Alright, this hive is preparing an attack. It will send out hordes of enemies in a few minutes. Here they come. But they're going to run into the turrets first, and then the guards are going to come out eventually. There they are. Guards hang around for as long as there's an enemy presence, and for a little while afterwards as well. So they just sort of mill around, and then once an enemy is up over the hill here, it's considered active, and that's when the guards rush it. And also the mechanics are on site too to kind of act like SCVs in StarCraft. They're just sort of there fixing up the machines as they go. Except in this case, the guards also count as machines because they're robots. This is the kind of situation where if I wanted to, I could let this fight just play out while I fiddle around up here. That's how laxed and chill this game is when it comes to the multitasking. Later on in the game, though, you get into situations where hives like this pop up more frequently, and they start spawning waves of attacks more frequently as well. So you have to keep up your defenses while managing everything else that you're doing. So that's where the challenge starts coming in. But that's more later in the game and on the higher difficulties. That becomes more and more of a thing. On the lower difficulties, as you can see, I'm not even doing anything. I'm not even paying attention to this fight, and there's no problems happening whatsoever. My engineers are keeping my guys online. The fighters are doing a good job taking the bugs down. The diggers are getting the piece of the rocket out of the ground for me. I did all the prep work before, so I am solid. I'm good to go. And that's another piece of the rocket salvaged. We go and have a look at our rocket over here. We've got ourselves 3 out of the 6 pieces, so we're halfway done. Once you finish the rocket, that's the end of the map. I mean, one of the things you can do, though, is when you finish the map, basically the rocket turns into a big giant end the game button that you don't have to press. The game is very insistent on, like, if you want to stick around on the map and continue building your city to make it look nice and pretty and big and fill it out or whatever, you can do that. So that's another cool thing that this game has. It has a goal for you to try and achieve, but it's a soft goal that you don't have to achieve. The mines, unfortunately, they do have a bottom, which we are nowhere near, by the way, because there's still at least one more floor underneath us, and you think the bugs on this floor are bad, you should see what's down there. But I think we did a good job starting a town from scratch and getting down there and getting half the rocket parts we need and getting a lot of industry and a lot of folks set up here in this little mining town of ours. So once we were to finish this map, there's still 4 other different maps that you can spend a good 4 or 5 hours building your way towards. And then there's different difficulty settings and achievement hunting. So it's not meant to be a gigantic, robust city builder game like City Skylines or any of the other modern city builders. It's much more stripped down and short and basic and chill. And I think that's why I really like this game.